Wonderful. Thank you, Jaap, if you're watching from your computer. Next up are the keynotes. We have two today, all about the topic that we promised you that this version will be about, the Cities for Children, Light for Children. As we've heard from Tristan Debray, this is really an important aspect of the City of Lyon and the politicians behind it. And so we have invited, Francesco Tonucci from the Institute of Cognitive Sciences and Technologies at the National Research Council in Italy, who is really the brains behind the City of Children movement. He will share a keynote presentation right now. Thank you.
Bonjour, bonjour à tout le monde. Buongiorno a tutti e buongiorno a tutte. Vado a presentare brevemente il progetto.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to present this project that was born in my hometown, Fano, 30 years ago. This project was born as a crisis project. So what does that mean? We were facing a difficult situation at that time, and it was a crisis from the very city of Fano. So after the Second World War, the city was rebuilt, not for everyone, but for a very specific category of citizens, and we describe them as the adult young male professional. And so the city was rebuilt for this very category of people. And so it excludes everyone else. And so in the modern city, children, elderly people, people with disabilities, and women, and also poor people, and also foreigners live in bad conditions. So the majority of people who live in the city today live in a city that was not designed for them. So the proposal is quite a logical proposal. So we're proposing to change paradigm and to substitute and to replace adults by children, by the smallest people, in order to avoid leaving anyone behind. To avoid leaving anyone behind. And so let me clarify this. It's not a project for children. It's not an educational project. It's just to improve the learning conditions. But it's rather a political project, because the objective is to change the city itself so that it becomes a city for everyone. And that's why it's related to the mayor. It's not related to an administrative sector of the city. It's not a project that the city is developing, but it's a new philosophy for the city. It's a new policy for the mayor, with a lot of administrative and political competences and skills from the city. So what does it suggest? It suggests that everyone participates and all children participate. And this can be done in two ways. On the one hand, children can propose their own ideas and also share their complaints and give their point of view. That's the experience with Children's Council. So there's a small group of small children in primary school, and they choose by chance, and they are going to stay for 2 years. And every 15 days or even once a week, they can, together with someone from the town hall, they can discuss and debate on topics about the city, about how to improve the city, about how to adapt the city to children. The second way of participating for children is to physically participate and contribute to the space, the city space, but the first and the main objective, and it corresponds to Article 12 of Rights for Children, they need to express their views every time they're concerned and every time a decision is made for them. That's why they can physically participate in the city space, and it corresponds to also Article 31 that says that they need to dedicate time to play. And this is a very important right, because playing for children is one of the most important experiences. And so when they play, children build their basics and their base, and they will build all their knowledge and skills and capacities and social skills for their whole life. So create these playing conditions is the duty of any democratic city. And it cannot be done without dedicating spaces for children in a city. It shouldn't be the contradiction that it is. They will be able to play if they can go out, get out from home without adults in order to meet with their friends and choose what they want to play. And they can also choose the place where they want to play. The natural place where they should play should be the public space. It's not a dedicated space. It's not a reserved space for them, because otherwise it would be a kind of exclusion. It's not a question of offer and demand or service providing. So naturally, this experience is disappearing from our children experience in a modern city. It's difficult to find children aged less than 10 or 12 moving around on their own in the city and playing in the city, in the common space of the city. So these two chapters are the main chapters of our project. And the second question regards the relationship, or the relation between children at daytime and at nighttime. It's a strange question, because nowadays children do not have the possibility to go out at night, and neither can they during their time when there's no question of shyness or fear when it comes to going out at night. But when I was a child, we could go out at night when it was dark, because our parents were sitting outside talking with the neighbors, and they were creating this social and welcoming, warm and welcoming atmosphere, even for children at night. But today, the issue that we're facing and we're trying to solve is that children cannot even go out during daytime. So, you know, that this night problem is not even a problem in itself. And so this leads me to the third question: how can children get involved and become city stakeholders even at night? Well, the city needs to take charge of these. The first one is to stop having these places where they need to be accompanied by their parents. And we need to offer the possibility to use public space for children. That's to say, give public space back to the population. There's a study that says that more than 80% of the public space now is becoming private because of all the cars that are moving around or because of parking lots. So we need to give back the public space to the population, to citizens. And then the second issue is light and lighting. And so there's two ways of approaching this. The first way would be to say that light at night on the streets or in the public space is offered or provided by shops, provided by commercial centers or big commercial structures. And that's why a lot of shops, and because a lot of small shops are gradually closing down, well, there's less and less light or lighting on the streets. And this does not allow these small streets that were really active in the past to be as active as they were. So maybe we should ban these big commercial centers to keep developing. So now there's this will to probably reduce this presence, because it does have an impact on light. And I'd like to conclude by remembering this beautiful experience from Argentina, the children from Buenos Aires. And they developed the children's night in Buenos Aires for one day per year. There's this project initiative called La Noche de los Niños, so the children's night, that's organized by the town hall of the city. And so there's a series of initiatives and activities in museums, in the public space, in playing areas at night. And so this experience of night games finishes in a stadium, of football stadiums that's open especially for children, where there are hundreds and thousands of children with lamps. And so they all meet up in the stadium and they play together and celebrate this extraordinary day, this day of night games. And I think that's a very nice experience that should be repeated. And the idea of getting inspired by this day that was a bit similar in Rosario in Argentina as well, 20 years ago. And so that was the inspiration for Buenos Aires, and that's how this Night of Children was created. Thank you very much.
Grazie, Francesco. And now we will hear from Massimo Seri, the mayor of the city of Fano, who will tell us more about the City of Children there. Massimo.
Bonjour à tous. Good morning, everyone. It's a very important moment to talk about this very inspiring moment, and with the support of Professor Tonucci, an educational expert and researcher at CNR. This project has been disseminated nationwide. And we're here talking about pictures that will really help us understand what we want to transmit. And so this was born 30 years ago, and it has changed a lot since 1991. And so we've built a strong link and relationship with the children and their families. And what's important is that it's become a social relationship. And so there's this Children's Council that has changed the status of the city and of the administration. And so there's an article now that says that it's the city of children. And it's been a public choice and also cultural choice. And this has helped us develop a lot of projects and initiatives. So what's the true element? So for Mr. Tonucci, as he said, this is not a project for children, it's a project with children for everyone. So we're talking about sustainability, welcoming people, well-being, inclusion, accessibility, and participating in an active way in contributing to the life of the city. Oh, I got lost in my presentation, the speaker says, sorry. And so let's talk about the children. So here we are talking about the increasing difficulty in terms of relationship between children and the city. Children have rights, and that's another strong point, because they're the future citizens of our cities with their own demands and wishes. So they're a paradigm. And why is that so? Because they're the most fragile citizens of our city. And so if a city is adapted to children, then it will be adapted to anyone. And it will be a city that can welcome and that can reshape itself in order to welcome everyone in the best possible way. So we need to really place children at the heart of what we do, and so they can have their say. And so they're the most fragile people, and it means that we should not leave them behind. And so the child in the mind of an adult. So it's a kind of social pact inside the city. And this comprises a deep cultural transformation concerning childhood and the way cities are governed. So what are the actions that we developed and put in place in order to translate this into facts? Some of the projects. So at school, for instance, and they can go on their own, and there's the council, the Children's Council. And so this welcoming city, and there are also events and activities. There's also the Children's Council, as I said. So what does it consist of? So all the elementary schools in our city have a representative group, and so they can talk and discuss and talk about projects with the town hall on given topics. And so we can move forward thanks to their recommendations. And in this period, we are currently building a new swimming pool, a new park of 30 hectares. And we're really engaged and involved children with us, so they could work with us and recommend and share with us their ideas. And sometimes there are aspects that we don't even consider or think of. And so they do bring a lot of things to the table. And there's always this confrontation each year, or this meeting with the town hall and children, once a year at least. And we can approve a lot of things, a lot of decisions. And it means that we can assume important decisions, that we can really advocate for these decisions. So we really negotiate and debate, and then we approve these measures. For instance, one of the nicest things that we've approved, for instance, we can see some of the pictures of the moments when we met. And so there's this group, this children's group and children's council, and so they have this dedicated space, and it's only for them. That's where they meet. Here, for instance, we can see that a neighborhood, that's a child-friendly neighborhood. That's another project. Here, we are talking about choosing a neighborhood, and we've organized a series of activities, and we've really asked children to reshape and rethink the city and the neighborhood where they live. And so that's what they did, thanks to using their dreams, for instance. So we can see here there's a commercial center, and the children shared with us their vision of the neighborhood. And so we've worked with sporting associations, social associations, the parish, and all of those who had economic interests with, local shops, etc. And so why is it important? Well, because this has implied the physical participation of 70% of the people who live in this neighborhood. So what does that mean? And what did it have to do with? Well, so we questioned all the means of transport, the green means of transport, the green areas, the public areas, outdoor sports, all the cultural aspects, because this neighborhood was suffering from the presence of, let's say, lively teenagers, so to speak. So we really tried to reshape the neighborhood together with our children and this Children's Council. And so this project, of course, faced difficulties and conflicts, because when we explained merchants and shop owners that because of instead of a parking lot, there's going to be a bike lane, what sometimes it's difficult for them to accept. But you know, the whole community discussed and debated on these topics, and at the end of the day, everyone agreed on this project, and we did question a lot of things. You know, green spaces, for instance. Children requested to have a skate park, and what it created was a higher degree of involvement for children, and even for social and recreational activities. And so that's one more way to engage in the decision-making process of the city. So what are we doing here? We're putting everyone and children at the heart of the city and not cars. And so it requires to make difficult choices sometimes, because we need to rethink the whole space. We need to, you know, come up with new sidewalks, and cars are no longer at the center of our projects. So cars are now come now at in second place, and so now children can move around on their own, and we no longer have to take them to school, but they need to be safe. We don't want any problems on our streets. So we can see here the 30 kilometers per hour areas, and all the areas to cross the streets safely. And so this has been really successful. And now there are lots of children who can go to school on their own. And another important element is the city to play. That's a project that we organize every year. And it's a kind of provocative project, because not only do we organize concrete actions, but we also convey and get messages across. So what do? We create a problem in the city. So we block the main streets, the one with most traffic. And of course, this generates problems. And I can tell you that the first time we made that choice, the mayor had to face quite serious problems with the city inhabitants. And now that it's been created, it can no longer be removed, because it's an important day for the city. Here we can see that it says on the sign, "Sorry if we disturb you, but we are playing here." And so the cities were shut down, and they were offered to children for them to play. And so it becomes a playing space for everyone. And so everyone's involved, and it became a whole festival. And so everyone's involved, and it has generated a lot of new initiatives. It has inspired a lot of people in other neighborhoods of the city. So as you can see here, there are lots of initiatives, and that's another thing anyway. And another element I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find my notes, the speaker says. Anyway, I'm going to improvise. So another element is the strength of children. both in terms of message and in terms of innovation. When we try to place ourselves in our children's shoes, there are lots of things that appear to us, but I'm going to give you another example. In these activities of the Children's Council, there was this project, and someone told me, well, you know, there are lots of projects that are organized, but when we are together with our parents, sometimes we get bored. But when you organize projects, you need to create spaces for children. And then I thought it was a good idea. So what we thought was that, you know, for each event, you know, for the jazz festival, for the food events, the sporting events, there's a space dedicated to children every time. And this has been really successful because it does not only has an impact on our day-to-day living standards and living quality, but also in terms of economy, because, you know, we're a touristic city. There are lots of tourists because we are by the sea, and a lot of people visit our city. And so we go, when people go on holiday with their family, they need to find these spaces. And from there on, we created this project called the Small Prince's Holidays. And so we rethought and reshaped all the spaces on the beach and restaurants with, you know, economic stakeholders. And so this is this really has an impact on everyone and on every layer of the city. And as I was saying earlier, when we organize events, we dedicate a space for children. And right now we are in the middle of Christmas festivities, and there are opportunities emerging. And last Sunday, there was this moment dedicated to all the pâtissiers or the pastry chefs of the cities. And we talked about everything that was created at night, and this Thursday under the stars. And every Thursday, there's this historic center dedicated to children with, you know, old games implying social interactions. And this was really successful, and the perception of all the community was really positive from children and also from adults, from parents and grandparents. Everyone participated, and the city in all its aspects. And now I'm going to conclude, and the last element I'd like to talk about is how can children raise awareness amongst adults on several topics, just like welcoming people, gender aspects. And some years ago, Destiny sent us this child, Ivan, that was born on Doctors Without Borders, on a Doctors Without Borders boat, and he had been saved by Doctors Without Border. And there were social tensions at that time in our city because of the migrant crisis. And so at the Children's Council, children came up with that proposal, and they told me, all right, dear Mayor, you know, why don't you give the honorific citizenship to Ivan, because he's in a very difficult situation. That will be a great message to send. And of course, this really impacted me. And I decided to propose this and to come up with a proposal at the Town Hall's Council. And of course, we entered political negotiation that was quite, that generated conflict, but it was approved and we celebrated this. We organized this. President of the Senate came and it became a big celebration. And we got this message across, this extraordinary and strong message. And why am I telling you this? Is because thanks to children, we can convey messages in this phase of the environmental transition and climate change. Well, children sometimes convey messages in a more efficient way than adults do. And their behavior is exemplary. And so just to conclude, well, children give extra strength to this project. It's not only this project of a city reviewing the living standards and quality, it also supports the autonomy of children, because nowadays children are being protected and overprotected by their parents, and sometimes they feel like they're imprisoned. And we were talking about public gardens at our council. Very often we think that, you know, the best space is the one with the most beautiful games, but it's not the way it should be. The best spaces are the ones that have free spaces. And so then I asked children on how to organize these public spaces. Well, some child told me, well, you should flip the bench around and it should face the swings. And I asked him why. Well, because then my grandfather will no longer see me when I play. So that's what I want. I want to be free. That's what the child said. And so thanks to this tool, and this is something that we showed in the field, we've been able to increase participation, and it reached more than 60%. And we've seen this for other events that we've organized in terms of strategy. And in this phase, we are working on two important projects. The one I told you about earlier, and also about creativity, about designing. And we've done that with the participation of a lot of people who really feel they had a role to play, who really felt they had a role to play. And so the true challenge for the City of Children is to improve living standards and living quality. And that's a project for the city, and it's a cultural project, and it's also a challenge. And I can tell you that it's a very stimulating, not always easy project, but it really helps us overcome some conflicts, you know, when there are several types of interests for several categories of the population. This is a tool that can really, truly make a difference and improve things. So we need to believe in this project, and I encourage a lot of people to follow us. Thank you so much.